What's good, America? It's your man, Reggie Florima, a.k.a. Big Flo. Together with my co-host, Oliver Gibson, a.k.a. OG. We are the Big Flo and O Show. What's going on, Oliver?
What's up, man? I'm hot. My AC out and the guys here. So if your noise in the background, I apologize for that.
Yeah, you know what? It is hot outside. I think we can complain about the weather in Chicago whenever we want to and be correct. So, I don't know. My AC hasn't been going that well, but I think it's because wifey went out of town. I think she jinxed me and turned the heat up a little bit so we could save time while I'm not here. But I don't think I have that same issue you do, so I'm going to stop complaining.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, man. You think we're going to have a moment of silence for the 2020 football season? Looking good.
You know, I'm going to hold out hope in Illinois for high school ball, for college football. It's starting to seem like I don't know how you're going to do it. You got the Pac-12 talking about Arizona. I mean, pretty much it's like 1 in 4 people tested in Arizona has COVID. In California, Southern California is doing worse than Northern, but they're having a hard time. I don't know. At some point, we're just going to admit our priorities are kind of tough for the Americans and just say I don't care and have sports, and that's going to be hard to do and have a full season. So many things will be affected by it. From a high school level, I'm still not hope in Illinois. I know that kids are getting helmets and shoulder pads and trying to practice for high school ball, and as much criticism as we got, I kind of feel like we might be the one lone range or something. Or Canada's going to have to extend their season or something. I don't even know if Canadians are playing football yet, but somebody's got to play football. I need to watch someone being tackled at least one time a year. One season.
Right. You need to be selfish, but the I's just cancel their fall sports, and a couple of HBCUs have canceled. So let's just hold out for the prize and hopefully they won't. But on to a better subject. Our guest.
Yeah, we got our next guest coming up here. Those of you that are in the Notre Dame family will know her well. To the rest of you, she is our inaugural female guest. She is a 93 grad from the University of Notre Dame. She's an author. She's a blogger. She even does marketing for a dog food company. Everyone, please put your hands together for Lisa Kelly.
Lisa, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, my mic is kind of whack, so I'm going to kind of lead off the conversation. This is great to see you repping with the Notre Dame shirt. So I got to ask you, first question. Why are you so damn in love with Notre Dame?
Why am I so in love with Notre Dame? Well, I am a legacy. My dad is a Notre Dame grad, so I kind of was born with, a green shirt on probably and a football in my crib. So
where'd you grow up?
I lived in 5 states growing up. So I was born in Pittsburgh. I'm a huge Steeler fan. And then that's right. My whole family still lives in the Berg except for my dad and me.
Where about?
South Side.
Okay.
So, and then my grandparents lived in Emsworth, which was on the north side, and then we lived in Coraopolis, so all over.
Yeah, I'm just over here. What about the Hill District? I just know about where the Hill District were raised from, or Tarentum, where my man Stroud is from. I throw that out there like I really know where it's at. What about the Hill District?
Dude, that was the hood. They could live in the hood.
That doesn't matter. Hey, I can say it out there. People think I've been to Pittsburgh a lot if I say the Hill District and Tarentum. So anyway, that's my.
Yeah, my dad went to North Catholic High School and went to Notre Dame. So I started off in Pittsburgh. Then we lived in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We lived in St. Louis. And then 10 years in Los Angeles, so all over.
Were you guys in witness protection, or was your dad an educator, or how
just
did that work?
Corporate brat. So my dad is actually a brewmaster.
Oh, that's
so
fantastic.
When you work at a brewery, they like to move you around. So yeah.
That might be a nice future show. I'd love to talk to a guy who knows how to make a good beer.
That's super awesome.
That'd be great.
Well, he played baseball at Notre Dame. He was an engineer, and he was the ROTC Navy. So then he served in the nuclear Navy. He's got a great story. So
you grew up a Notre Dame fan. Was there any other schools you considered, or was it pretty much my life dream to get into Notre Dame?
My dad was really good about making sure that, I had all my options open. Of course, I was brainwashed, but he wanted to be sure that Notre Dame was where I wanted to go. So I applied to 10 schools, and I got into 8 of them. The 2 I didn't get into were the 2 in California. So, and that's where we lived. So I knew I wasn't staying in California. The last letter I got was Notre Dame. I got it on April Fool's Day, and I thought my mom was pranking me. She literally had to open it in front of me and go, "Here's your letter," because I didn't believe her.
That would be one mean prank.
Speaking of
stories, tell us about your books and what inspired you to write them, what they're about, and so on and so forth.
So, I've always loved Notre Dame. I went to school there. We had 4 amazing years of football when I was there because, of course, they had just won the national championship. And in 2009, I lost my job. So I was trying to kind of build my toolbox of marketing skills. I got on social media. I started a blog. And my blog, the original blog was called Bridget McGuire's Filling Station, named after Bridget's, our local watering hole in South Bend. And
for those who don't know, there was 2
off,
walking distance bars, Bridget McGuire's and was it the Commons. They were kitty corner from each other. They had a capacity of about 100 students, but 750 students would show up at any given night. You went in there, you sweat yourself half to death, and drank cheap beer, and you could walk home. Anyway, I digress.
So well, good. So my blog was kind of a hodgepodge of a little bit of marketing, a little bit of mom life, a little bit of retro music, and then Notre Dame stuff. And then as the blog evolved, it became a whole lot of Notre Dame stuff. So in 2011, there was a contest for the biggest fan of the Big East Conference. So this was when Notre Dame basketball was still in the Big East. And the contest people reached out to me, wanted to know if I would represent Notre Dame in the contest. So it was a blogging contest. They picked one blogger from every school in the conference. They flew us all to New York City to do media day at the New York City Athletic Club, which was pretty cool. We had mandatory writing assignments every 2 weeks. They flew us all to our alma mater for a game, and then you had to promote yourself on social media. There were 10 guys and 6 girls in the contest. And at the beginning of March, they picked the final 4, which was me and 3 guys. And then I was crowned the winner. So they flew me to New York City to Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament. And on center court, I got the keys to my brand new Volvo.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
yep.
That's fantastic.
I got a shiny red $40,000 Volvo. It was amazing.
So you're getting to be a super fan, or you got paid to be a super fan.
It was crazy. Like, just my love of Notre Dame and my blogging turned into something that, got me a free car. So my blog went from something that no one was reading to all of a sudden a whole lot of people were reading because I had all this spotlight, which kind of gave me a platform. So I reached out to Oscar McBride and I said, hey, I've got this great platform now and I have a lot of readers. I want to start a series on the blog called Where Are They Now? And so the idea behind it was, hey, let's reach out to former Notre Dame football players and tell your story. How did you get to Notre Dame? What was your experience like? Did you play in the pros? And where are you now? So Oscar was my guinea pig, and his story had about 2,000 or 3,000 page views. The next guy in was Rick Meyer, and his story had 10,000 page views. So pretty quickly, it just kind of took on a world of its own. And between May of 2012 and January of 2013, I interviewed 32 guys. So It was fast.
So that must have been the missed calls I kept getting.
That's
when
right.
You were trying to interview me. Well, that's
good
so
thing you didn't interview me.
Yeah, you didn't want to.
One of the guys I interviewed was Marv Russell, and Marv played in the 70s. He's an author. And so I circled back to Marv and said, okay, I've got all these stories now. I think this would be a good book, but I don't know how to write a book. They're all like Q&A format. How do I turn this into a book? So he kind of took me under his wing. He coached me how to turn them into a story. And we wrote the book in February and March. We edited in April and May. We sent it to the publisher in June. I had a book in August. And I was still working full time and had 2 kids at home. So I was not the person who said, oh, when I grow up, I want to be an author. That wasn't me. Like, this just sort of happened, and it was a passion and something I loved. And, here I am 3 books later, and it's crazy. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, hey, do you think you'll write a book? I'd have said you were crazy.
So it sounds like it's the non-traditional with the first one, at least, because it's kind of
that's awesome.
Although for me, that's the great thing. A great way to read a book is to hear the stories of where are they now, because it's interesting, and then you can kind of skip through some people and get there. What was the topics of the other 2 books? Dogs.
It's the same thing. Dogs, right? So the first book has 25 football players. The second book has 30 football players, so it's a continuation. And then the third book I've now expanded to other sports and men and women. So I have football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, women's track, women's basketball, and I have a student manager. So kind of diversified, and got to get my women a chance to get in there.
Okay. So 2 things. One, what are the titles of the book? Where can they be found? Actually, 3 things. And when you write the tell-all, make sure you hit me up. Whenever you you distance yourself from Notre Dame, ready to write the tell-all, sure you call me.
Yep. So the first book is Echoes from the End Zone, The Men We Became. The second book is more Echoes from the End Zone. And the new book is Triumphs from Notre Dame, Echoes of Her Loyal Sons and Daughters. So we have echoes and all the titles to kind of tie it together. You can buy them on my website. It's echoesfromnotredamebooks.com. And of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, stuff like that. Sadly, my publisher went out of business during COVID. So my inventory is out of stock. We're republishing the books, so I should have inventory in a couple weeks. So it's been a little exciting.
That's fantastic.
Very cool.
I see you do a lot of book promotion. I know that you mentioned Marv, and I've seen you guys go together. Pretty much every home game, it seems like you're up there, if I'm not mistaken. Every time I go to a home game, at least you're up there. So either we're coordinated or you go to all the games and you do that. How does that kind of work? You have a deal with the university, or how does that work where you're doing those little signings?
I'm up there a lot. I just kind of network with different businesses. I do book signings at the bookstore. I do them at Augie's Locker Room. It's a novelty, memorabilia store off campus. I also write for a Notre Dame blog, One Foot Down. I've done some sideline reporting for 5 years, and now I'm doing photography. So since about 2013, I've either been in the press box or on the field. So that kind of, I'm doing books, but I'm also kind of covering the current team as well.
How'd that come about? Now, so you've gone from marketing dog food, right? And now you want a car. I need to invest in you. It seems like everything you do touches and spills is something great. So how did you end up getting the sideline reporting gig?
So this guy reached out to me. He had a Notre Dame student who was like a communications major. She was his sideline reporter, and as she was getting close to graduation, he had been following my writing, and he's like, I know you know the material. He said, we just need to train you to be behind the camera, in front of the camera now. So he kind of took me under his wing. At the beginning, there was 2 or 3 of us kind of sharing the time, and then eventually I was doing it full time. So it was a crazy experience. I did it for 5 years, and I really enjoyed it, but I get so nervous in front of the camera, and
Come on, you
just decided, I know, I do. So then I kind of got an opportunity to do photography for a Notre Dame website, and I would much rather be behind the camera than in front of it. So.
Well, when you do that,
So let me ask this question. I've always wondered, when you're representing a university from a media standpoint, is there ever, because you're getting their stories, and I would think that sometimes things are comfortable and they probably could tell you something like, I don't know. I mean, do you ever wonder, do you edit stuff to protect the universities, or do you write what they say?
I do. I mean, I think my job, especially because I'm a Notre Dame alum, I want to take care to tell the athlete's story in a positive way. I want it to reflect them in a good way. I want it to reflect the university in a good way. So, some of the stories I've told have been hard stories. So I always make sure that whoever my subject is has a chance to review the story and make sure that we're telling it in a positive light, and that, a lot of times when you tell the hard stories, you can teach a lesson as you're telling it. So I always try to make sure if I can teach a lesson and maybe prevent someone from making the same mistakes, we've done some good. So
in the Where Are You Now stories, are you getting a lot? I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to read them. Are you getting a lot of people telling you their story and their hard times as well, or is it kind of more like, is it more of the journey, or is it really where are they today and what they're doing today?
I mean, it's a lot of the journey. We always end every story with where they are today, but, some of the journeys aren't pretty. Some of the journeys are, but that's part of the human endeavor, right? Everyone is going to face some adversity. So, I try to make sure that we don't skip those things, because I think that's important. It shows your growth and your learning and how you became the person you became, right? I think kind of a common thread of all the stories is that the values that we all learned at Notre Dame kind of molded and shaped us into the people we became today. So, I think Notre Dame does a great job at teaching the whole person. So, we all had to take theology and philosophy in addition to whatever your coursework was. And I think being able to kind of have that wide variety of coursework makes you super well-rounded. I started out in engineering. I was an aerospace engineer for a hot second, and then became a business major, but I made sure to have a lot of English classes as electives, because I figured that no matter what you do in life, you have to be able to communicate. So even if you're not going to be a journalist, even in the business world, you still have to write emails and communicate with people. So I wanted to make sure that, my coursework set me up for success. And I think I've learned how to love to learn. I've continued to learn and evolve, and my career has gone from advertising to copywriting to marketing research to what I do now. And I think that's because, you just keep growing as your life goes on.
But you got to be the most interesting person in the dog food company. I don't want to say the wrong. Is it Purina?
Purina, yeah.
Yeah, you're Purina. So that's like, well, not very many people went home this weekend and flew across to LA and did a sideline report and came back, wrote a blog, and did some different things like that. So that's great. I think it's awesome that you're telling the stories, not just 100% clean and happy, feel good, because those are great to see. But I think it's the journey. We've had a lot of people on the show that have told us our story, and I think that we're starting to get a level where people want to tell their story, and there's some bad parts of people's past that people who I thought I knew well that I didn't know about until they came out. And I do like the fact that people are opening up and being able to tell you some things, because there's so much to learn in the journey. Coach Ellis used to always say that people have to deal with adversity in life, and I think that everyone does that, but all you see on top is the shiny stuff, what people want to see. All you see on Facebook or social media is what people want you to see, but you don't know how people are going through to get there. So that's great as well. Now, on the 1 Foot Down, the blog, is that a similar stake, or is it more? Maybe just talked about that.
So I started out kind of writing my own blog, and then eventually, one of the Notre Dame blogs reached out to me and said, hey, we like what you're doing. Would you come do it for us? So I wrote for Her Loyal Sons for a couple years. And then I think 2016, 1 Foot Down said, hey, we want you to come over here. And so I jumped over there. So they're under the SB Nation umbrella, and so we have a pretty good reach. And my editor kind of gives free rein about what I want to write about. I have a weekly column. I do a Throwback Thursday, so I either, tell one of my athlete stories, or, I reminisce about an old game. But, I do have a lot of flexibility whenever there's a cause that I need to promote. I do a lot of stuff with Holtz's Heroes, so I'm always kind of promoting like the Bread of Life food drive and different things that they're doing. So it's nice that he gives me the flexibility to kind of cover whatever I want.
How the hell did you get in the inner sanctum like that, though? I feel like you're deeper in there than I or Oliver have ever been. You work with Holtz, you work this, you do that.
My sanctum.
So
it's crazy. Like when I wrote the first book, when we were done, I was talking with Oscar and he said, we should ask Coach Holtz to write the foreword. And I'm thinking, okay, Coach Holtz doesn't know me. Like, I met him twice in college, like, whatever. So Oscar's like, no.
We can't
Oscar's
hear you.
Like, no.
Oliver,
okay.
We can't hear you very good. Let her finish it. Sorry, not just
robotic. Oscar sent the first 5 chapters to Coach Holtz and said, hey, we're working on this book. We would like you to take a look at it and see if you want to write the foreword. And so Jan was his secretary at the time, and Jan emailed back and said, Coach is really busy. If you want to write a draft, then he'll go through and put his touch on it. And so I said to Oscar, well, Coach's voice better than I do, right away. So Oscar gets started on the draft, and like 24 hours later, I get an email back from Coach. I love what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. Here's the foreword. Let me know what I can do for you. And I just was blown away. Like, I didn't expect that at all.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Once you get the whole stamp of approval, that opens a lot of doors for you, I think, in the whole Notre Dame world, especially with the older crowd that I hate to admit that we're all part of now. So when you're on the sideline doing the reporting, do you take a certain angle, or are you doing like a play-by-play? Are you doing this? Are you trying to tell a story behind the story? What about that?
When I'm doing sideline reporting, it's just kind of like covering the X's and O's and, looking at strategy and talking about what's working and what's not working. And so it's more kind of strategic at that point. My storytelling is more when I do the kind of where are they now stuff. So
okay, that's good. Well, I know there's another fun fact about yourself that I think people want to hear. So you're already this person that works in the dog food company. You've got blogs, you've won cars, you travel the sideline, you do all kinds of stuff with Coach Holtz, but you also own 2 zoos. Please talk to me about how you get into the zoo business.
So my husband has had a very interesting career path. When I met him, he ran a bar. So he ran a bar for like 4 years on the historic Laclede's Landing in St. Louis. And then he had this side business of building haunted houses. Mm-hmm. So when the bar kind of ran its course, he turned the haunted house into a full-time business, which I never thought that would happen, but they kind of diversified. They did the haunted house in the fall. They built them all over the world. They built dark rides for amusement parks. So he built the haunted house ride at Kennywood in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He's done all kinds of crazy things. We owned a fireworks stand. He's definitely an entrepreneur. He built blacklight miniature golf courses. So in 2011, he met this guy that had a haunted house in Branson. So we came down to Branson to check out the haunted house, and he had this really weird little exotic animal preserve, and we were like, okay. So my husband comes home one day and he says, I think I'm going to buy this zoo. I'm like, what? And he's like, no, it's going to be great. Like, it has so much potential. It just needs a new location. And he's like, I'm just going to buy it and be the behind the scenes guy. And I'm like, okay, another one of his crazy ideas. So he buys the zoo in 2011. And the first year, we moved it to a new location and did all this work. And then a year into it, the guy who was his animal handler decided he was not going to be part of the business anymore. So, then it became like a full-time, okay, this is really ours. And, so he was going back and forth between St. Louis and Branson. And then when our youngest graduated high school in 2018, he sold the haunted house business to his partner and we moved to Branson, and now he does it full time. So
now you got a bunch of lions and tigers. So what kind of animals can we see at your zoos?
So we have lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! We have wolves and dingoes and serval. We've got alpacas and llamas, and we've got sharks, stingrays, alligators, crocodiles, spiders, you name it. We got.
That's good. So, well, that's fantastic. It's a very interesting life that you're living. I don't know how you have time for all this stuff. I know you must be going nuts with COVID as much time as you've been running around and being busy all the time. But we just wanted to have you guys out. The Notre Dame family that we're around knows you very well. I thought a lot of people will get a good opportunity to see what kind of books you're writing, maybe go out and read them again. Maybe you can let us know when they come back out. We can put something on our site about when you have books ready to ship. Give us a plug one more time for your, is it One Foot Down? And where people can find it?
I will, yep. I write for onefootdown.com, and if you're interested in the book, it's at echoesfromnotredamebooks.com, and they should be in stock shortly. So I'm working hard to get everything republished, and I also have a couple projects that I'm working on, so I'm not totally ready to announce what the new book is, but I do have a new book that I'm working on, and then I'm also working on a project with Tavon Coney, so lots of stuff coming down.
Well, we'll have to bring you back to talk about those things when you're ready to talk about it. So before I let you go, you think we're going to have a season this year?
I don't know. It would be hard. It's hard to see how they could have them travel and, be on the field and all intermingled with each other and be safe. Like, I don't know. Unless they are all exposed to it now, right? Clemson already has 37 guys that tested positive. So
yeah, and he only had one person.
Kind of feels like, yes. So I don't know. It's just, if you read about the 1918 ball season during the Spanish flu, Notre Dame didn't play at all the entire month of October. They played in September, then they missed like 4 games, and then they finished what they could in November. So, and then by 1919, they were playing football again. So I think this is temporary. We may not have a season this year, but I don't know. I sure want them to play, but
I'm in take what I can get mode. So a few games here, a few games there. We'll see what we can do. It's better than nothing, but obviously lives are more important than football.
Right, of course.
Anyway, again, Lisa, thank you so much for coming out. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties with Skype, and so Oliver was a little bit hard for people to hear. But we love you, and go Irish.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Go Irish.
All right. Take care. Just Lisa. No, I'm having technical difficulties with my outro. Here comes the outro, y'all. All right. No.
But now the day has come. But let you know where I'm coming from. Yeah. What you